Welcome to another episode of Young Guns Podcast, and as we're all aware, stonks go up, right? So finally, after this crazy rally we've had from the bottom, I mean, we dropped 35% overnight, felt like. But since then, we have seen that V-shaped recovery. We're finally seeing some blood in the streets today. And so where do you think we're going from here?
I mean, the market's down 6% today. I mean, Dow Jones is down roughly 6 right now. S&P 500's down close to 5%. I mean, there's only been 3 other times where the Dow's dropped bigger than this. So this is like the 4th biggest in history by point-wise. I'm not talking about percentage. So it's kind of crazy if you take a look at like what's happening and kind of where we're going. I think everybody expected a pullback eventually, right?
Yep.
It had to have happened because, we say at the beginning, stonks go up, but it's not healthy to just go up. So I think this initial pullback is kind of healthy. But one thing I do think kind of is going on in the market right now, I think that a lot of investors are kind of like thinking is that stocks only do go up. So this is kind of like a buyable pullback. So I think a lot of people are going to buy in here. I still think from a fundamental standpoint, there's a lot lower to go. So you might want to be careful buying back into these prices. I think you could definitely get a cheaper price down the road.
Yeah, but you could always dollar cost average, right? So maybe if you have some cash on the side, you deploy 5-10% of that. I mean, this is a good buying opportunity. Yep. But if you feel, like Luke does, where we may see a more significant pullback, you may want to keep that cash on the sidelines so you can deploy it, when possible. So there's a lot going on right now.
It's important to differentiate between investing and trading. When I'm referring to waiting for a larger pullback, I'm talking about the short-term trading kind of style, right? But for those of you that are younger, below 40 years old, you have such a long-term, time horizon that you can dollar cost average, like you said, or, just go all in if you really wanted to. Because, I mean, the thing is you have such a long amount of time that there's a lot of time on your side and you can make a lot of the money back. And the market, over time does return 6 or 7% on average every year.
So taking that advice, I think the big thing here is your behavior, right? You can't overreact in these situations. You're going to see a lot of volatility. This is a pretty unprecedented time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of computer and, algorithms that are trading as well, so that we're seeing this larger volatility, these big swings. And if you can't handle that, you shouldn't be looking at your account because you're going to make those wrong decisions. You're going to sell low and lock in those losses.
That was a big thing that we saw with a lot of our clients. Or, prospects at least coming in that, what we're looking at is they came in and said, hey, I haven't looked at my account for 2-3 months. That's something kind of to think about because those 2-3 months that went by, March, April, May, that, we had such a bad market. Everybody just waited for the market to climb back and get back to where it was before they even looked at their accounts. Now, that's a good thing. But that's also a bad thing because it's kind of alarming that people don't know exactly what's happening. And that's okay if you do have a longer term time horizon. But a lot of the people that we do work with here are, near retirees
maybe or next year.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of alarming that they don't know exactly what's happening or if they're not positioned correctly. And that's alarming.
So if you lived under a rock and you checked your account, like you said, before this all hit the fan, and you checked it today, well, maybe not today, let's say maybe 2 days ago, you would have had no idea that we went through a crazy pandemic. There's a lot of other different things going on in the world. You would have had no clue. So
tech stocks hit all-time highs. I mean, the S&P is still down 10%, from all-time highs. But, the NASDAQ, all these tech stocks like Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, all these big stocks, I mean, they literally are hitting all-time highs. And some of them are even up to date or flattish. Even on a big red day like today, which is kind of it's just crazy.
So taking those other sectors, all those other stocks that are really down today, what's going on? I think the big thing is the numbers that are coming out with the virus, right? Yeah. So I think Arizona has been hit the hardest. And as we're seeing things reopen, as we're seeing large gatherings in the form of protests, as we're seeing everybody kind of go back to normal as if this never even occurred, it's that 2-week incubation period, right? Yeah. So after we get past these 2 weeks, that's when we're going to see the real numbers. And I believe that's what's kind of coming to fruition right now. And that's, I think, leading that pullback because, I mean, I don't think that we can get shut down again? I mean, I never say never, but it would be
I don't
really
think
hard
it's
for them to
possible.
go back.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible because we've gone through it once and we've already kind of put ourselves economically into a depression. So I can't imagine if we shut down again, what that would do to small businesses or businesses in general with their vision for the future. They'd have no idea how to plan for the future if we shut down again. So I don't think that's in the books.
Right.
If that comes down to, I think the Fed's just going to use their burr machine and print more money.
Yeah, well, if they shut them down again, I mean, these poor small businesses were nailed the first time. Then, unfortunately, some of the bad protesting has turned into destroying these businesses right as they're opening. Yeah. And now if you shut them down again, they're definitely done. Yeah. You know, you don't come back from that. Most small businesses are losing money in the beginning. Yeah. They got to get to a certain point. So they don't have that emergency fund. They don't have those cash reserves to be able to get back to where they need to be. So
I don't know if you can tell. We just came from, Kelly's Island, Marblehead up there. We were out in the sun all weekend. So, we're all kind of red and stuff. But anyway, we were up there and we kind of observed the difference between some social distancing and not social distancing, right? Like, I mean, the thing is, on the beach, you have a lot of room. So we didn't really see too much there. And people didn't really seem to care. They walked by. It wasn't much going on. But when we were up at Kelly's Island, some of the restaurants and bars, they were pretty strict with their guidelines. Like,
it was very apparent.
It was. One place had the plastic screens.
You almost feel that you're a little uncomfortable when you're in that situation. You have those screens there. Everybody's just kind of on their toes. Even when we came into the island, going into the convenience store, there were signs everywhere. It's like you couldn't miss them. They're on the walls. They're on the counters. But in that situation, that's an island. So they have people that are coming from all over the place, all coming to one centralized area. So, I mean, it makes sense that you need to be a little more cautious in that situation because they're trapped there. The people that live there, work there, you don't want to bring that to your community and have an outbreak on an island. That's not a good place to be. Right. So definitely going to see a lot of differences. I mean, going up there was fun. I found out that Luke is not good at kayaking.
I am not good at kayaking. I fall off in the middle of the ocean or the lake, and I thought I was a good swimmer, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I actually got to watch him panic.
I didn't have a life vest on. It was attached to the kayak, but the kayak was flipped over, so I couldn't access it. So he was almost trying to throw me his life jacket to save me. No, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, I panicked a little bit because it was really cold, first of all. So I was having trouble breathing. And then at the same time, I'm like struggling trying to get back on the kayak while there's big waves trying to take me under. So it was an interesting experience. But in my defense, he gave me the hardest kayak that he had. He has 5 kayaks, and he gave me the hardest one that's the most unstable when he took the easiest one. And this is my second time ever kayaking.
I gave your girlfriend the good one.
Yeah, and I know, which is she appreciated that, and I appreciate that too. But it's funny. He started me off on expert mode, and then he went to easy on the way back. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was beating everybody. I was quickest one there.
Well, I really didn't want to have to deal with that again. It was
it was stressful for you, probably more than for me.
But I mean, coming back to the real world, what are you observing here? You just went out in Cleveland yesterday, right? So what did it feel like being downtown?
I'll tell you
Cleveland?
what. You can't even see the coronavirus anymore. It's really, now Cleveland's all boarded up because literally everything is destroyed because of the riots. So I feel like a lot of the cities that went through that aren't even thinking about coronavirus anymore. That's in the back of their head. They're afraid to even open up because, maybe a weekend will go by and there's another riot. Who knows? So we went out to Ohio City, which is right outside of downtown Cleveland. And we went there. I think Town Hall and Great Lakes Brewery, and maybe one other place is open. A lot of the places over there are still even shut down. I think they were mainly shut down for the coronavirus, and they haven't opened back up. Downtown, if you look at East 4th Street on Cleveland, if you look at West 6th, the Flats, I think they're the only place open downtown, which is it's just kind of crazy to go down there and just see everything boarded up. It's like a whole different world down there now, which it is what it is. But like you said, economically and from a financial standpoint, it's hurting their business. I mean, the thing is, you already had baseball. That's not going on. A lot of these bars and restaurants drove a ton of their business, especially in Cleveland, drove a ton of their business.
Everyone loves the Indians.
Through the Indians, because they were always there partying, having fun, eating, drinking, whatever it be. And then now you have the Indians that still probably aren't going to play. Now they can't even be open after this coronavirus situation is there because they're all boarded up. They have to get new windows. They have to get new everything. They have to reorder all their food and supplies because it was all looted. it's just not helping the situation.
Right. And I think from a corporate standpoint, they have to follow the rules. Their hands are tied. These big organizations, if they could, look at Elon Musk. He said, screw you. I'm opening my plant. I'm doing what I'm going to do. If you're going to arrest anybody, come arrest me. I'm doing it. So when you look at the individual part of this equation, I think it's very different. I think people have realized that they have to go on with their lives. They can't let this affect them psychologically. Yeah. They can't stop doing all the things that they were doing because, mental issues are going to arise. Mental health is a real thing. It's going to affect a lot of people if they can't go back.
I'll tell you what, I thought I was going to go insane. If I had to go another week being inside and not doing anything, I thought I was going to go insane. And I think I'm pretty good on that level of not getting too upset or anything about things. I'm pretty level-headed.
I haven't had to deal with those issues.
I haven't had to deal with those issues, but now it's I realize what it's like.
Mm-hmm. You got a little taste, you know? And that's one of those things where I'm not going to go too far deep into this, but if you've never really felt it's hard to understand. Yeah. Where a lot of people are they don't get it. And then once you feel it's a whole different ball game. It's real, it's out there, and we'll leave it at that.
Well,
but
the thing is, from the beginning, I said kind of from the beginning, I called it. I remember you talking to you about it. I'm like, listen, I think a lot of people are overreacting. I don't think it's as big of as an issue as it is. And I think I was relatively right. It's an issue, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, they wanted to make sure it wasn't a bigger issue than it was. So that's why we shut things down. We wanted to get more information about the virus. We didn't have much information from the beginning. We knew nothing, which is an issue, right? Because maybe it was 10 or 15% death rate, which would be extremely high. They didn't know that at the beginning, so they had to really take the big precautions. And in history, like I said, it shows us that really coming out of these bad situations, not much changes. The only time it changes is when you have events occur upon events, like I talked about last week. You have the coronavirus. You have now basically depression, economic numbers, depression and unemployment. You have now these riots. You also have the election coming up in November. And that's not even counting something else that might come up down the road. So when you have all these events stacking on top of each other, 20, 30 years in the future, we might look back upon this year, 2020, be like, that was the year that we took another path. That we were going down this one path, we just altered that path. So
it's what's next, right?
Yeah.
Where are the aliens at?
Right, that's the meme, right? Where they're coming, dude. They're coming.
Every time you think that something else can't hit us this year, it just does. So, the biggest takeaway from this is you got to live your life. Yeah. You can't let, you can make calculated decisions based on, future projections, but you can't stand still. I just moved into my first home yesterday. In the back of my mind, did I want to wait and see if this housing market crashed? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely wanted to do that. But you can't sit there stagnant. You got to keep going. You have to do the things that make you happy and grow and continue to make those calculated, decisions when it comes to what stocks you're buying. Who do you believe is going to come out of this a better, bigger company and be able to be more lean because they figured out with technology and all the changes what's going on. That's the biggest takeaway.
The thing is staying put and doing what you're doing now in all aspects of your life. That's the easiest decision to do because, people don't like change. Nobody really likes change. The way I view change is in a good way, though. I view it as uncertainty, but a good uncertainty, as in it's fun. It makes life interesting. So that's why sometimes it's good to go down the path that's less traveled. I know we hear that a lot. That's a very basic term. But if you go down a path that's less traveled or go down a path that you're not comfortable with, remember the uncomfortable paths or the paths that you are taking that might make you feel uncomfortable are going to help you grow over the long term. And we talk about the indecisiveness and kind of going down that path. Procrastination. It's actually better just to make a decision, especially if you're younger, because you're going to learn from your mistakes, you're going to move on, and then you're not going to make the same mistakes again, and you're going to learn from it and perform better in the long run.
Yeah, so that's the biggest takeaway. You need to, as safely as possible, go back to the way of life that you're used to. You got to do the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
If you're younger, take these pullbacks, use them as a buying opportunity, right? If you're a little bit older, you're approaching retirement, it is time to take a look at that portfolio.
Yeah.
Get a x-ray done of your investments and figure out, am I overweighted somewhere? Am I putting on too much business risk? Do I have maybe too much international exposure?
Yeah.
I know that the U.S. right now is a place to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You keep hearing, you've heard in our industry, there's international, European, you hear this, but it just hasn't happened,
Yeah.
right? And I think right now, with everything going on in the world, I don't think it's the time. Is
Right.
there going to be, some opportunity because of the risk? Absolutely. Right. But if you're getting close to retirement, I don't think it's right to take on too much of that. Right. So, I know with like a Vanguard 2030 fund, sometimes what you don't realize is you may have 20+% exposure to that. So it's just things you need to look at, especially if you're approaching that timeline.
Yeah, and like Joe said, if you don't know how to get started, we do have an X-ray tool on our website, swpconnect.com. You can go there. You find this X-ray, you plug in your 10 stocks, top 10 stock holdings. We go through, we basically analyze the management team. We analyze the fundamentals, how, its valuation basically. And then we take a look at your whole portfolio holistically and give you kind of recommendations, or at least show you where you're over allocated, or if you do hold kind of good stocks. So you can always use that tool and just access that on our website, swpconnect.com.
Yeah, that's where you're at. Definitely suggest, trying that out. It's free to use. It's going to get back to you quickly. It's pretty easy, kind of letter grade type of analysis.
It's A through F. Like I said, we rank all those A through F, and we'll give you a call basically after you fill it out.
Yep. So other than that, if you have any other questions, or, again, if you want to be a guest, do let us know. But again, thank you for tuning in. We hope you guys are having a great day, and don't let this market affect the way you feel today, right?
Stay safe out there, not just for the coronavirus, but everything else that's going on as well. So,
Have a great day.